Hi everyone, welcome to this video. My name is T. If you're new here, I really do hope everyone's day is going well. So, the day has finally come. The day has finally come. Listen, I get hit up a lot for video requests, but I gotta say, y'all have never, ever hit me up this much about a show than y'all have about Grand Army. Wow. It used to be Lovecraft Country, but now all I hear about is Grand Army this, Grand Army that. And I won't lie, okay? When I first heard of this show and what it's about, a group of high schoolers navigating their own individual traumas, I was like, I'm good. Because I don't know if you've heard of a show called Euphoria, but I already have a group of troubled teens who live in my mind rent-free, so... But I promise you, I could not go 2 days. I could not say 2 words without hearing Grand Army, Grand Army. What's up with that Grand Army review? We looking at you, sis. What's up with the Grand Army review? So I said, fine. I'm gonna watch this little idiot show. And I did. And basically, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you the first time because we have to talk, and we have to talk a lot. Before we do though, I would like to preface this with every disclaimer, every warning I could possibly think of. First one being language. If you watch this show, you know that it tackles some very, very touchy topics, including trigger warning, the following. And I want to talk about those in full depth. I've been doing YouTube for about 3 years now, and I've gotten pretty good, pretty clever at discussing touchy topics cleverly enough that you know what I'm talking about, but that I don't get demonetized. But sometimes it's really difficult. Take my Euphoria video, for example. It was really frustrating and uncomfortable to just tap dance around all of the touchy topics that are brought up in the show. So today I'm not worried about monetization. I'm gonna let YouTube do whatever the hell they want to do with it. Of course the video itself will still be edited, but I'm not gonna be bleeping out any words. I'm not gonna be redacting any words because I don't fucking feel like it. So there you go. I know in some of my other videos I don't really seem like a potty mouth, but y'all gonna learn something today. Also, this is going to be a pretty long video. I usually have my notes memorized before I say them on camera, but today I chose not to do that. So if you see me looking down at my notes for guidance, you know why. Grand Army is a show created by Katie Capiello. This story was actually a play called Slut, and then it was adapted into a series when Netflix picked it up. It follows the story of a group of teenagers who attend Grand Army High School in Brooklyn, New York. One afternoon, a bomb goes off just a few blocks from the school, which causes them to go into lockdown. The events that happen during and directly after this lockdown change the lives of these teens forever. So this bomb, right? It's symbolic of the commencement of all of the afflictions and tragedies that these teens will begin to experience. So once this physical bomb erupts, so do each of their lives. First, I want to talk about Miss Layla.
You're going to jail that way.
Layla is a freshman girl who was born in China, but she was adopted by a white family. Because her family never taught her her heritage or attached her to her Chinese culture, she struggles with her identity. Her life bomb was thinking that she could illustrate her life. So she has these comics that she draws, and she's really talented, by the way. Right before the actual bomb went off, she was drawing in her notebook, and it looked like she was drawing some sort of explosion, and moments later an actual bomb went off. I do not put it past Layla that she believes that her drawing had something to do with that. And that would explain why she was standing there all frozen in disbelief, because she really thought she did something. So she's not operating in reality. She's operating in this animated world where she believes every single one of her actions warrant one specific result. And if things don't turn out how she anticipated, it must be the fault of someone or something else. Which makes perfect sense why she's a pick-me.
So pick me. Choose me. Love me.
But you see, the thing with Miss Layla, she's not just any pick-me. She's a pick-me plus. A pick-me premium. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter who is giving her the attention, just as long as it's on her and it's completely undivided. Let's take a look. She latched on to Sid. She latched on to Rachel. She latched on to the rabbi. She latched on to Omar, which, by the way, if y'all cannot see that young man's potential, we have to talk. If y'all do not see his potential, I'm telling you, give him a growth spurt in maybe 2 summers. He is going to make Layla eat her fucking words. He is going to make her regret the day she ever played him. Trust me. So she latched on to Omar. And of course, she latched on to George. Now, George, as you can guess, I have many things to say about George. But before we get there, let's talk about Layla and George's relationship. Whatever. It didn't work because he just don't like you like that. Boo-hoo? Boo-hoo. Should we cry or what do we do? Layla was just not interesting enough to him to keep his attention. I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow, but she might as well learn now. And honestly, she's not in this alone though, because enough grown people still cannot come to grips with the fact that to some people, you're just not that great. And they struggle with this because they have what I like to call main character syndrome. Let's get into it. There are too many people who believe that they are the main character of humanity. There's no problem with being the main character in your own life if you want to be, but a lot of people really believe that life is just happening to them instead of they are just a person navigating and experiencing life and all of its elements which existed before them and will exist after them. And I think this is rooted in the individualism and the egocentrism that many of us are taught from such a young age, you know, constantly telling every single freaking kid, you're the best in the world, you're the smartest in the world. You see that language? The best, the smartest, the most talented. It fucks kids up. I definitely think we should celebrate children and all of their accomplishments, big or small, but that celebration should not be rooted in superiority. We shouldn't only celebrate children by telling them that they're better than other children. Because then we get to middle or high school and we realize that we're really just fucking average, and it's like a crisis. And it really shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be a crisis just because the spotlight isn't always on you. And you see, when Layla wrote that bomb threat to the school, she had absolutely no other motive other than she needed some sort of catastrophic event to be happening that was within her control. She's gonna get caught next season, just so we're on the same page. She's definite, and she wrote it on her own computer. Bye. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Another side effect of main character syndrome, like I said, people can't accept their own failures as their own. It always has to be the fault of someone else. Because Layla could not possibly fathom that George just didn't like her like that, she decided to blame the demise of the relationship on Joey. Now, y'all gonna have to help me with this one, because how the fuck Joey DelMarco plays into the equation as to why Layla couldn't get George's dick hard will forever be a mystery to me. I just can't do the math. Maybe I forgot to add the one. Or it is not Joey's fault that all the boys at school want her. It is not Joey's fault that she radiates so much confidence and good energy that people are naturally drawn to her. It is not Joey's fault that she is so secure in herself that she could watch George kiss you on the forehead and not even flinch, because unlike you, she's not intimidated or threatened by other women. It is not Joey's fault that she is everything you wish you could be, Layla. But because George didn't like you, you convinced yourself that everything was Joey's fault, including her rape. And I especially don't respect Layla, because if she really wanted smoke with somebody, is Gracie not right there? Y'all remember Gracie, right? Miss Condom Coochie? Yeah, she pressed her enough. Gracie poured a drink on Layla at a party. She threatened her in the bathroom. She was constantly mean to her around school. I mean, Layla, if you really wanted smoke, why didn't you go after Gracie? I forgot. Because you see, that's the thing with pick-me's. They can never judge you or hate you with their whole chest. It has to be glazed with passive aggression and condescension. Pick-me poison. Right. I'm done talking about this girl. We have to move on. Next, I want to talk about Sid. Sid is a swimmer. He's a very protective brother. He's going to Harvard in the fall, but most importantly, he's gay.
I'm a bad bitch. I'm a bad bitch. Now I'm a bad
bitch. I'm a bad.
Queer people of color from immigrant families, we won. We won! But he's closeted for majority of the season, so we still won, but humbly. His life bomb was that he was forced out of the closet by one of his teammates. So in his admissions essay to Harvard, he was talking about his experience as an Indian man in America, and then he goes on to reveal that he is gay. He ended up getting in an argument with one of his teammates after Sid made an ableist remark at him. I won't skim past that. And in retaliation, his teammate got a hold of his computer and leaked Sid's essay on Instagram, revealing to the entire school that Sid was gay before Sid had even accepted it himself. See, here's the thing about coming out, and this is purely by my queer logic, not by experience. I gotta say that because many of you have asked for my big, spectacular coming out story, and the truth is, I don't have one. I never really came out to my family. I just gave them the link to my YouTube channel, so. Coming out isn't simply making the revelation that you're queer. It's making the declaration that you won't apologize for it. With that being said, to me, Sid did not come out. He was pushed into vulnerability. Because even after the whole school knew about it and nobody was really treating him differently, he was still ashamed. So to me, he was still in the closet. The doors were just wide open for everybody to see. The show also did a really great job of exemplifying what is and what isn't necessarily appropriate to say when someone comes out to you or is recently outed. We don't really have that conversation much, do we? We don't talk about it as often as we should, so allow me. If you notice, there was a whole lot of nonchalance that people were trying to show Sid. We heard a lot of, I don't care, no one's gonna care, it's no big deal, things like that. And you see, we know your intentions are pure when you say that, but don't. For the queer person, everything is about to change. As soon as the rest of the world learns about their queerness, they are immediately marginalized and double the oppression, triple, quadruple if they're also a person of color, disabled, atypical, etc. So I'm gonna need you to care. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to really, really care about that. I think what people mean is it doesn't bother me and it's not going to affect our relationship moving forward. And if that's the case, say that. I would love to hear that, but I definitely need you to care. Also, another thing you shouldn't say, unrelated to Sid, but I might as well just bring it up. I already knew. I always had a feeling. Let me give you an analogy, and this is gonna be a shit analogy, I'm telling you right now, but this is the best I can do, okay? Imagine you're pregnant. I know some. Just imagine. And you're not showing any symptoms, so you're not throwing up, your face isn't fuller, you haven't gained any weight, you don't have any weird cravings, none of that. You are the exact same person, you just have a little secret. So then one day you gather your people and you tell them about your pregnancy, and the first thing out of somebody's mouth is, I knew it! Remember, you've worked really hard to keep this a secret, so naturally your first response is gonna be, how? How did you know? And it's kind of the same thing with coming out. Because now you're wondering, was it really that obvious all along? Like, did everyone else know and I was looking stupid because I was the only one in denial? On top of it making us self-conscious, this is my moment. Let me blow out my own candles. Don't take that away from me, okay? Even if you already knew for whatever reason, this is the first time I'm acknowledging it. So there's still an aspect of newness here. Let me have my moment. Now back to Sid. What I love the most about Sid's storyline is although his parents weren't really okay with him being gay, it had absolutely nothing to do with being Muslim. This show actually made it a point that, you know what? They didn't even really say what religion he was, if any, but they made it a point that he was not Muslim. And I think they did that because American media is known for its Islamophobia. Anytime there's a storyline about a Muslim family, it's always with these oppressive undertones, and they paint the religion of Islam like a prison, especially for women and queer people. And that's not always the case. You know, Islam is a very beautiful religion, and sure, they may have some rules that not everyone agrees with, but so does Christianity. But we never see a Christian family painted in such an oppressive light. So it was really refreshing to see these writers make it a point that his parents' apprehension to him being gay had nothing to do with the Islamic faith. Same thing with Dom and the whole arranged marriage, which of course we're going to talk about later, but just the fact that they made sure that it was not related to Islam in this story, beautiful touch. And finally, the one piece of critique that I have for Sid's storyline, and it's a double-edged sword, I'm gonna tell you now. So on one end, you have this queer character who we've grown to love, and you want them to have their happy ending, right? You've seen them go through all of the BS, the alienation, the ostracization, the getting in fights, constantly having to defend their honor. So you want them to have that happy ending. You want that moment where we saw Sid and Victor kiss, and you could see the mental fireworks going off for Sid, and he's like, yo, so that's what it's supposed to feel like. You know, we want that. But what I've noticed very often happens, and I gotta thank Deja Talks TV on TikTok for this. I literally live for that woman. You follow her. She's the best. What often happens in queer representation is there will be a queer character like Sid who was single all season, the whole season. Wait, Sid wasn't single. What often happens is there will be this queer character who is without true romance all season. Like the entire season, they're by themselves. In Sid's case, he wasn't single, but follow me, please. And then one other queer character comes along. Out of the whole school, there's just that one other queer character who joins the main cast, and then it's like, voila, they hit it off. And do you really think that's how it goes in real life? Do you? Because that would not happen in a straight dynamic, would it? Straight people, they do not hit it off with every single other straight person that they meet. And straight characters are very often allowed to casually coexist with each other without it getting romantic, but queer characters are not always awarded that luxury. So just for the sake of realism, that's my only critique. But other than that, a beautifully well-rounded character. Love Sid. Love Sid. Moving on. All right. I know this is the moment y'all have been waiting for, because Joey, the next character I'm about to talk about, is really the core of the story. I chose to put Joey somewhere in the middle because I know by now most people will have clicked out of the video. I know they're probably gone on to something else, which is fine. All right, let's weed out the weak. Let's skim off the top, because what I'm about to lay down is about to get real rowdy in here. Joey Del Marco, I relate to her so much. She is a radical, outspoken feminist with a seemingly polyamorous spirit. Unlike me though, she's a socialite. But also like me, she's a girl's girl. She literally pulled that old condom out of Gracie with zero hesitation, which I meant to say it earlier, but fuck Gracie. Just so we're clear. Back to Joey. Her life bomb was that she was raped in the back of a taxi by two of her friends, Luke and George, while her third friend, Tim, sat there and did not intervene. I want to break down the dynamic of her relationship with each of the guys to better explain why the process she followed after the rape went the way that it did. So first we have Luke, who is pretty insignificant in Joey's life, to be honest. He's just a popular guy she flirts with who gives her Xans. Then we have George, who she sometimes calls Gio. He's a childhood friend who is known and loved by Joey's family, so he likely had the most history with her out of all of the guys. Let me tell you, in high school, I had about 3 Lukes and maybe 7 Georges in every single class. So I am quite familiar with their kind, quite familiar. The privilege, the chip on the shoulder, the inability to go 5 minutes without making a joke with misogynistic or racist undertones. Trust me when I tell you, I know a daddy's money bitch when I see one. And they created the bomb pussy list, which, get this, half of the girls who were on that list, they never even touched. Yep, half the girls on that list made it purely by assumption or hearsay. Now, what was the nature of this list, might you ask? According to them, a feminist list of sexually empowered and desirable Grand Army females. Let's tackle that for a second. I love how this show put emphasis on how easily feminism exposes weak men. And the absolutely pathetic measures they will go to reclaim this power they think we stole from them. Look at freaking Mira, Sid's sister. She was a well-known feminist throughout the school. They literally called her Liberated Vag. And she was writing and directing a play about female sexual liberation. She ended up getting her nudes leaked. So shit like that really just goes to show how weak men will put a target on the backs of strong women, and they will really seek us out with the intention to destroy us. It's so weird. It's like they see us and they see how we're navigating in society and the response that we're getting from society, and instead of joining us, they say, oh, What is this? You're on your fucking feminist high horse? You're on your pussy pedestal? Let me knock you down a couple notches. Let me humble you. And then they betray us in these ridiculously evil ways. Joey was, at least for the story, the sexually empowered feminist of the school. We saw how she led that whole free the nipple protest, and like 100 girls in the school participated. So she was well known for this stuff. And it's so upsetting because there's still this common and encouraged idea that the more sexual confidence that a woman expresses, the less deserving of a right to consent she has. See, make it make sense. I'm over here tripping over my words because it don't make sense. A woman does not forfeit her right to consent or not because she's sexually expressive. Are you stupid? It don't matter how she dresses, how she walks, how she talks. If you had to force her, if you had to coerce her, if you did not hear a jubilant yes, the answer is no. A little personal story. One time, many years ago, there was this guy I was seeing and we were right about to have sex for the first time. Right before it happened, he stopped me and he looked at me and he said, "Do you want to have sex with me?" And I said, "What?" I was genuinely confused. I'm like, I'm here, you here. I'm hot, you hot. Of course I want to. Is this a trick question? And he said, "No, I just need to hear you say that you want to." And at first, I thought he was a little bit, I ain't gonna lie to you. But I later realized that his concept of consent is that it's always an assumed no until they say yes. And that's the complete opposite of what we've been taught, right? All we hear is no is no. No means no. As soon as she says no, you need to stop, which is true. But that backwards ass concept of consent that we've been taught, it implies that the answer is always yes. Yes, she always wants to have sex with you until she says no. And that is not always true. Look at Joey's situation. From the outside looking in, people were saying, well, why didn't she just say no? She could have easily just said no. Listen, not only was she inebriated, but she was so shocked and immobilized with fear. She was trying to process what was happening to her while it was happening to her. She was so stunned. She could not even utter the simple word of no. But while she didn't say no, she damn sure didn't say yes. Consent, synonymous with permission. When you ask someone for permission to do something, do you say, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for not saying no. Now I know for sure I can definitely do it. Now I know for sure you will be 100% okay with me doing it because you didn't say no"? Is that how permission works in any other instance? So why would we apply that concept to sex? The magic word is yes. You need to hear a yes. And then we have this backwards ass system of reporting sexual assault. Throw it out. Throw it away. There is no remedying this. We need to throw it out and start completely over again, because this is the same system that looked Anita Hill in her face and said that she was lying about her sexual assault that she didn't even want to testify to. This whole situation was reminding me of a documentary called On the Record. It's on HBO. It's Drew Dixon's documentary where she's talking about her, I have to say, alleged sexual assault by Russell Simmons. Just listen to what she has to say.
I mean, that's one thing about being a victim of sexual abuse. The words are on your mouth. You're the one that has to disgust the world by telling them what happened to you. So you then become associated with this vile act. You are defiled again because you have to tell people and they see it on your lips. And then the person who did it is shocked to the core, as is society. So then they're aligned with society, like clutching their pearls. And you have this tawdry, sordid nastiness on your lips, so you seem gross.
The process itself is meant to demean us. It's meant to vilify us, the victims. Instead of it being the suspect's job to prove that they did not commit these crimes, it is the victim's duty to prove that they did not deserve to have these crimes committed against them. Based on everything she's ever done in her life, everything she's ever worn, everything she's ever said, everything she's ever posted on social media, that is all used to help the system decide whether or not she deserved to be sexually violated. That is why Joey's case didn't get accepted, because that was the focal point of the conversation. Did she deserve it? Not how are we gonna punish the people who did it. Let's move on to after the assault, when Joey went to report it. The way they captured the perplexity of the situation, but translated it in such an easily comprehensible way, wow. Wow. They made the audience understand why some things just aren't meant to be understood. I'm really blown away by how they executed this, because let me tell you, as a survivor, after this shit happens, it's like a cacophony in your head, and it's ongoing and it's loud as hell. I'm telling you, it don't stop. All of these emotions, right? Some that don't make sense, some that are inexplicable, some that betray each other, some that betray you. And with Joe making the decision to report the incident, we saw that she didn't necessarily want to report it. Instead, she just wanted to eliminate whichever internal demon was torturing her the most. As much as she tried to convince herself that it was just a rough night, it was just a rough drunken night with her friends who she loved, who loved her, as much as she tried to gaslight herself, she could not escape the torture of victimhood. And we saw that torture manifest physically. Notice how in episode 4, they started to show us the days of the week on the screen. They never did that before, but in episode 4, they showed us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You see, by Wednesday, which was what, 3-4 days after it happened, look at her face. Look at her face. She wasn't sleeping, she wasn't focusing, she's literally pulling her hair out by the root. The torture of victimhood was literally eating her alive. It was killing her, literally. And this was all before she reported it. And in that fight for her sanity, we got to see the exhaustion. Wow, did they capture the exhaustion? Let me fucking tell you about the exhaustion. Also translated to viewers why some people don't even bother to report it. Just like Sylvie, who we got to meet in the last episode. Some people just don't have the energy to sit in front of a jury or a police officer or the public and prove to them why they didn't deserve to go through all that shit. Some people don't build up the stamina until 20 years after it happens. Some people don't build up the stamina until they hear another survivor say, "Me too." All right, we're not done. We're not even fucking done. So we already talked about George. We talked about Luke. Let's talk about Tim. Tim is the brother of Joey's best friend, Anna. Joey had a flirtatious and affectionate relationship with all 3 of the boys, but Tim was special because he was the only one who seemingly wanted to pursue more than a sexual relationship with Joey, and Joey actually felt the same about him. But because Anna was uncomfortable with her best friend and her brother dating, Joey started to distance herself from Tim, and she made it pretty obvious. Just like when they were in the movies and Tim saved the seat for Joey and she was like, "No, I'm gonna sit next to George." And that same day, she was all touchy-feely, kissy-huggy on everybody except Tim. Tim grew extremely jealous of this. And because his ego was bruised so bad, he used that as justifiable revenge to sit there and let his friends rape her right next to him. This is why we say all men. This is why whenever we're talking about all of the fucked up shit y'all do, we don't say some or the majority. Listen, if the shoe don't fit, you don't gotta squeeze your big ass toe up in there. But I'm not gonna stop yelling that the forest is on fire just to single out a couple untouched trees. I don't know what the fuck you thought this was. Because when it comes to shit like this, all men need to evaluate what role they play, whether you're perpetuating or whether you're complicit. Anything you're not changing, you're allowing. And the first step to allyship is accountability. So you want us to stop saying all men? Look in the fucking mirror. His friend got raped right in front of him. But he didn't say anything because it was supposed to be us, Joey. It was supposed to be me and you, Joey. Remember when we were riding on the back of the train together and we were screaming into the void together, Joey? Remember that, Joey? But then you started kissing other boys, Joey, which I guess is okay, Joey, because I don't own you, Joey. But it really hurt my feelings, Joey. So can you blame me for not saying anything, Joey? This is typical nice guy syndrome. Listen, One day, we're gonna have to talk about why the friend zone is a fallacy and why being a self-proclaimed nice guy is terrorism.
Electric chair.
And don't get me started on Anna's behavior and all of this. No, I'm serious. Don't get me started. Because if I start on a bitch, I'll never finish. And we gotta get through this video at some point, right? So, next character. Is this a shade I use? Are we running out? Next up, we have Dom. The ambitious, the gorgeous, the brave, the mature, the understanding Dominique. Just like me, she's from a Caribbean family. Her family is Haitian, to be specific, and she is the first generation American born. I can relate to that. I love the use of the native tongue. For Dom and Sid, we saw this, but mainly we saw it with Dom. I just love that this was an immigrant family speaking their native language, because oftentimes whenever we see a story like this, it's really just the parents and the elders who are speaking with a really thick accent, which are usually poorly portrayed by American actors, by the way. We don't ever really see them speaking their natural language, even in the household. So yeah, it was very important for me to see a Haitian family actually speaking Creole. Dom is facing severe domestic adultification, which we talked about in my cuties video. She not only has to take on the pressure of babysitting them, but she also plays a hand in raising them. We see her cooking for them. We even see her disciplining them when necessary. We also saw how catastrophic it was for Dom to just be a normal teenage girl. It's not like she was going out and raving at parties and all of that like everybody else in her school. She literally just went out for pizza and went on a walk with a guy she had a crush on. The most basic of basic teenager activities, but it was catastrophic for her family. You gotta be able to empathize with the type of pressure that must put on a girl. And look at Dom's nephew, Dante. Dante is 14 years old, so he and Dom are like 3 to 4 years apart. Now look at what's required of Dante in the household, and look at what's required of Dom. So Dom's life bomb was that she and her family had been struggling for a while, but one day her sister gets injured at work and she loses her job, which is very common, especially in New York. So her mother's friend has a nephew who is looking to get his green card, and they offer Dom and her family $10,000 if Dom marries her nephew and helps him get his papers. Could they have illustrated this ultimatum any better? No. The answer is no. That was such a tough decision. Even I was like, listen sis, whatever decision you make, I'ma back you, because I do not know what choice I would have made in that situation. On one end, she could reject the money, continue working, but sacrifice her energy and her comfort. And on the other end, she could take the money, help her family, but sacrifice her freedom. I really hope people know that this process is not a little 1-2, just go to the courthouse, sign the papers, and in a couple months you get your green card in the mail. No! When a citizen marries a non-citizen and they go to get their green card or their visa, there's this interview process that they have to go through, and they ask them all of these personal questions, you know, about each other, each other's family, the household. So you have to be living together. You have to show that you've been faithful. This is why the aunt said no serious relationships. So Dom's life would have to shift, and she would have to sacrifice a lot to make something like this work. But she was willing to do that because anything but this. That's what she was thinking. Anything but what I'm going through right now. And if you've never been destitute, you are really in no position to judge Dom's decision, because people love to say that money isn't everything, money can't buy happiness, but listen, money isn't everything when you have it. Okay, life is one big clusterfuck of problems. Let's go ahead and simplify it. Life is just one big clusterfuck of problems. And no, money can't solve all your problems, but it gives you a damn good head start. And at the time that she was offered the 10K, there was no greater danger to Dom's family than poverty. So Dom realizes that not only would the money help them bills-wise, but it might also bring them together, which is why ultimately she decided she was gonna go through with it. She was going to marry him and get the $10,000. But thank my Black Jesus, her mother called it off. And I know this is so selfish what I'm about to say, but I'm really happy she did because I love Dom and John. I do. I love them so much. He is so good with her. He's so gentle and tender with her, and that is a trait that I like in romantic partners. I like someone who can be tender but still not constantly like all up on you, breathing down your neck and stuff. He gives her that nice balance. Obviously his love language is gift giving, which explains why he gave Dom that $300, but I mean, I kind of understand why she spazzed on him a bit because, I mean, Dom don't need no savior. She really doesn't. She just needs support. She could have been a little bit nice, or could she? I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation. But anyway, she just doesn't need saving. She gonna get it done. She's gonna get hers. She just sometimes needs a shoulder to lean on. That's it. So yeah, much love to Dom. I love Dom. Now the final character I want to talk about is Jay. Jay, such an amazing, talented, handsome, wholesome young man. I don't know a better way to describe Jay, honestly. He reminds me so much of some of the young men in my family, so I have a soft spot for Jay, I can't lie. He has all of these amazing qualities that could take him so far in life. He's super talented, he plays the saxophone, he makes good grades, he comes from a well-off family. But at the end of the day, he's just a kid who sometimes likes to goof off. But unfortunately, when you are a young man, a young Black man, oftentimes you are not awarded that luxury. Jay's life bomb was he was goofing off with his best friend Owen during the lockdown. They started throwing Dom's wallet back and forth. Her wallet ends up falling down the staircase. By the time Dom retrieves it, all of the money in there is gone. Now, even though they paid Dom back, because Joey made such a big deal about it and called the teacher over, it was reported as theft. This caused both of them to get suspended, but Owen ended up getting a 60-day superintendent suspension, which banned him from participating in any school activities, including All-State, which was like the opportunity of a lifetime. This whole thing drove a huge wedge between he and Jay's relationship.
The show also highlighted the gaps in Grand Army's system of punishment. There was no balance. Simple mistakes such as Jay and Owen goofing off during the lockdown or Dom cheating on a test put all of their careers and futures at risk under the guise of a zero-tolerance system. But there was hella tolerance when these boys were walking around school with rape accusations, hella tolerance for online bullying that ruined Joey's life, hella tolerance for people to create a bomb pussy list or anonymously out Sid on Instagram, hella tolerance for George and Luke to make racially charged jokes at Sid all the time. So obviously, there was tolerance in this school, but only for white boys.
This is why Dom was so snappy with Joe. This is exactly why. Firstly, because Dom don't need no fucking savior, okay? We just talked about that. But secondly, Joe's complaint carries way more weight than Dom's ever could. And we recognize that. But on top of that, Miss Wilder, the teacher who wrote them up, the same one who slut-shamed Joe, she be tweaking. The bitch, shh. And it's very ironic because Joe is known in the school for being an activist, but she doesn't yet understand the politics of privilege, which again, ironically, was a concept that was being mentioned in a podcast she was listening to the same day she did the Free the Nipple protest. And it wasn't until after Jay and Owen received their suspension sentences when Joey realized how badly she fucked up. Do you see? Do you see why you need to mind your business sometimes? Do you see? But skipping forward with Jay, you see, when it comes to the elevation or the advancement of Black people, especially Black men, I noticed that there are two common types of attitudes: the conformist and the revolutionary. Now, in this specific instance, the conformist would say, listen, I know discrimination exists. I know that the punishment Owen received did not fit his mistake, and this is bad, but this is how it is. And this is how it's been. And you see, these rules, fucked up as they may be, it's best you just follow them because it's gonna help determine how society treats you. So just keep your back straight. And the revolutionary would say, no, your back don't need to be straight because shit like that should not affect your worthiness to be respected. Small mistakes like the one Owen made should not cost young black men opportunities of a lifetime, because the problem is not the straightness of my back, it's my skin. Okay, surprise. The real issue is your prejudice against my skin. So I'm not trying to elevate in this society. I'm trying to start this bitch over because it's not working for me. Jay's father and Owen's parents are more conformist, and Jay's grandfather and the kids at school are more revolutionary. So for the entire season, Jay is kind of like straddling the fence. He's like, should I just bite my tongue and engage in these opportunities of a lifetime? Or should I speak out against the obvious discrimination that is causing my friend so much pain? Jay went to go visit Owen and it's like he didn't even recognize him. He was watching the school to prison pipeline in full attack. Ultimately, Jay chose the route of activism and he protested by not playing at Allstate. He put the little X over his mouth, which I'm proud of him for, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't like, Jay, this is nice and all, but you've practiced for this for so long and you've wanted this for so long. And even Owen, although he's mad at you, he still wished you good luck and gave you some advice on how to do well. So are you sure you want to do this right here, right now? But that's the point. That is the exact point. There is never a convenient time to demand equality. I should know that. We saw this when Jay and his friends, they tried to be civil, they tried to have a nice little sit-in, they tried to talk to the principal, and what happened? He blew them off. And sometimes you just gotta put your foot down and say, yo, there are real issues here that need remedying, and you can't give me an hour of your time to discuss it. Oh, but when you need my labor, when you need my entertainment, when you want me to blow into a sax or catch a ball, you're all eyes and ears? And for him to choose the fight for justice over his own personal advancement, wow. I am so in awe at how young activism starts in this generation. Like, it blows me away. You see all that stuff that those kids were doing, hosting fundraisers, having benefit parties. They were planning to take a bus to Philly to combat voter suppression. You think I was doing all that shit at 16? Do you think I was speaking out the way I'm doing now? At 16, I wasn't. Let me tell you, I was not. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have the guts. But you see, these kids, they do. And that, everyone, is my analysis on season 1 of Grand Army. I worked so hard on this video because I really just wanted to give it my all. So many people were requesting it and I didn't want to come on here with that foo-foo lame shit. With that being said, don't expect these long form analyses from me every single time, okay? We will return to normal programming of my little 15 to 20 minute segments in the next video. Also, with that being said, I will not be reviewing Lovecraft Country. I thought I'd just tell you now. I know you guys have been asking, but I can't. I love that show, love it with my whole heart. I really, really do. But I just do not have the brain juice to conclude or hypothesize on all of the allegorical context and the symbolism and the imagery and the juxtaposition of different time frames. I choose my peace instead. So, thank you for understanding. Thank you all so much for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Listen, if you sat here and you watched this whole video, I fucks with you the long way, the strong way, because I swear, when I sit down to edit this video, even I'm gonna get burnt out. So if you really sat here and listened to me this whole time, thank you. You a real one. Be sure to leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, however you're feeling today, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.